there was a big kerfluffle over the Star Wars community looking to cancel some of our friends and some of the biggest channels in our space, namely Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, Ryan Kinnel. And this was a coordinated cancel mob that basically tried to get these channels not taken down, but completely demonetized. And there's a great article at that Park Place, link in the description, that kind of takes you through all this stuff. But long story short, there was a group of Star Wars shills, and I call them shills because they're not actually fans, they're just looking for access, who basically created this coordinated campaign accusing a cottage industry of toxicity, racism, and bigotry, of basically monetizing hate, monetizing racism, monetizing misogyny, all this other stuff. And they called on YouTube to take a stand and get rid of all these like troublesome channels. So we have Jared the Dark Jedi, we have Star Wars Explained, Molly Damon, we have this whole thing was kind of started by this person called Rewriting Ripley podcast or something like that. Not really familiar with much of these people because I don't really read a lot of like shill accounts on Twitter. But they basically tried to create a movement in which to get Gary, Geeks and Gamers, and Ryan Kinnel completely demonetized. And I think they even threw Star Wars Theory into that mix. And completely against YouTube's terms of service, by the way. And so they basically got rebuked by YouTube by saying like, hey, we have reviewed these channels and we have found nothing wrong with them, nothing against our terms of service. And then they're like, oh, now we're going to go after YouTube's advertisers. We're going to let them know the bad behavior that YouTube is enabling on their platform.
Is that where they're at now?
That's where they're at. And it's no doubt probably going to lead to another adpocalypse of some type, because this is exactly the same thing that happened with the Steven Crowder versus whatever that guy was, where basically YouTube was like, okay, I'm taking away everyone's toys and nobody gets any money and stuff like that. But what's really been interesting is that Star Wars Theory came out with a response to this movement, and he basically revealed that Star Wars Explained, in particular, Molly Damon of Star Wars Explained, is kind of like a behind the scenes, I guess, puppet master of all this, where she's been responsible for 8 years worth of bullying for Star Wars Theory. And she's been the one who, even though she claims that she's had nothing to do with this, she's been kind of leading the charge behind the scenes to make this thing happen. And it's all not because they actually believe that Gary and Ryan and all these people are racists. It's that they are jealous that they're the ones getting all the YouTube views and money, and they want to be able to get access and get all the YouTube views and money by getting rid of their competition. And that's the long and short of it. And Star Wars Theory did 2 really great responses to these accusations. But Tom Connors Jr., I want to get your take on this, because you've been targeted for cancellation many times, and yet you are still standing. So what's your take on this?
Oh, I mean, it's obvious they have no recourse here, so their last chance at anything is to try and shut everybody down or shut everybody up, especially people like Gary and Star Wars Theory and Geeks and Gamers and Critical Drinker people. I mean, I don't remember if we discussed it here, but I've said it before, where this whole thing, especially when it started with that quote unquote viral tweet, that long thread about how toxic Gary is, and then an almost identical one popped up for Critical Drinker. I said, this almost feels organized and orchestrated. Mm-hmm. And then up pops Rewriting Ripley for the first time in 2 years. And basically, I mean, yeah, we were on their radar before, and we threatened them with legal action, and they blocked us. So, but this was from the first time when they were trying to call everybody right-wingers and all this, and alt-right, let's say, actually, is what they were using the term. So yeah, no, this all feels like an organized effort, whether it's being orchestrated from inside Disney or not, I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's some active people in there, if that's
some coordination.
Yeah. So yeah, at this point, that's what it feels like to me. But it's almost like it's what I've been referring to as the final read for a while. It's like the last stitch effort when they know they got nothing left. I mean, if they were going to try and get Gary and those guys shut down, it would have happened years ago, not now. I mean, that's the thing, is now it's almost impossible to make it happen without it being so, so much of a big deal. Like, we'd all come out obviously in full force if it were to happen, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, yeah, it's just kind of what it feels like, is a last desperate move on the part of people who are losing control of the narrative, losing control of the opinion of the country and the world, for that matter, at this point. I mean, I do feel the shift is coming, and as I've warned, when that does happen and the other side realizes that they're losing all the power, we're going to get what's called the final re, and that's them doing every last desperate move they can to try and gain some foothold and power and semblance of the narrative again, which is just falling away from them, basically.
Well, Reaper, what I find interesting about this is that this all started because the Acolyte got canceled. And it got canceled because of low ratings. And I think that if it weren't for all the hate watching, quote unquote hate watching, the ratings would have been much lower than they actually were, because nobody liked this show. And yet, when it was announced that Disney canceled the show, that was kind of like the thing that sparked this cancellation movement, because according to these guys, it's like, hey, these people have monetized a hate-filled cottage industry of bad-mouthing shows that feature people of color and women and blah blah blah, and it was a very mean-spirited, targeted campaign to try to destroy these people's livelihoods. What's your take on this?
Well, they've done it before with Moses Ingram and Obi-Wan. That was a big racism accusations against everyone. They've what I think the difference this time between all the others, because Book of Boba Fett's been cancelled and there wasn't a big attack against YouTubers. What I think the difference is that to these people, Disney, to them, they think Disney has reacted to the YouTubers. So instead of listening to them and making sequel after sequel of shows that nobody likes, they're actually listening to their enemies, and that means their power's being taken away. And I think that is what's made them go ballistic and try to take down everyone's channels, because it's a direct threat to their power, because that's all they have. All they have is pressuring people on Twitter to keep making like Ahsoka season 2, despite it having lower ratings than the Book of Boba Fett, which isn't getting a sequel.
Yeah, although they never officially announced that Book of Boba Fett was canceled. They just kind of letting it die behind the scenes.
Right.
But Brian, I want to throw this to you, because what's interesting about this coordinated effort to cancel Gary and Geeks and Gamers and Ryan Kinnel is that pre-Elon Twitter, this was the game plan. This was like, if you pulled this off, you would get these people taken off Twitter and demonetized, and it would have been successful. But post-Elon X, it's a different ballgame. So what's your take on this coordinated effort to basically take on the quote-unquote fandom menace, even though I think that that's no longer a relevant title?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the real thing. I think it's going to fail. I think that they're too big to fail now, and they're too big to take down. And I think that because Elon's Twitter, X, is a much more free platform, you got to actually do something wrong to be able to be removed. You can't just, they can't, they won't just remove you because a bunch of people decided to mass report. The whole mass report thing is such a cowardly thing to me. But just because a video or a page or whatever is mass reported, all that should ever do is trigger a human reviewer. That should never trigger an automatic response. And we're seeing that on YouTube now, where human reviewers are actually looking at it. And, YouTube's response was perfect. They're like, yeah, we didn't see anything wrong with this. Good luck. Good luck next time. Good luck next time, weirdos.
Here's a link to report your next video.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's going to work no more, because I think now it's different. It's a different world. I think Elon Musk and buying X, I think that is making other platforms have to. I'm not sure if this is the case, but I'm assuming like maybe they got to be a little more reasonable in their randomly banning reported videos, because in the past, if you mass reported a video or a channel, it would just be banned. automatically. Now it's being triggered. Now it's triggering a human review, which is the right way to do it.
Well, Mr. Butters, what I find interesting here is we just spent, the last like 40 minutes or so discussing how YouTube made all these like very questionable decisions about who to ban and stuff like that. And in this case, YouTube made the right call in not, taking down Gary's channel or demonetizing or whatever. What's your take on how YouTube handled the situation?
Did they accidentally make a supporting decision for free speech? Is that what they did? It's like I don't know. It's very strange, because old YouTube, like Brian was just saying, they would have probably suspended at least all the accounts, right, and then put them under some kind of review and had to go in front of some kind of YouTube council and get the thumbs up, thumbs down if they're going to
guilty until proven innocent.
These guys continue their channels. In the meantime, they're losing money every second, and then their channels are losing relevancy. And 6 months later, he's like, "Oh, you could have your channel back," but at that point, nobody cares anymore, and you got to start over from scratch. So, yeah, man, what these people did was just wrong. This is it's bad. They're and they go, "Oh, well, we were trying to take their channels down. We were just trying to get them demonetized. We wanted to,
which is arguably worse."
Yeah, right. I mean, come on.
We just want them to work for free and not be able to support their families.
Yeah. Yeah. This has gone beyond the hobby stage for Ryan and Jeremy and Gary and all these guys.
This is like their business.
This is what they do now. And they're living the dream right now that I think a lot of us would love to have. With big successful channels and having meetups and and not having to, they're probably working 18 hours a day. I know they are. I know they're working 18 hours a day, but and it's hard work. And for these pieces of shit to come in here and try to take that away for no other reason than jealousy, for the most part, because the people are getting
because
more
they
clicks
disagree, which is so crazy.
Yeah. I think jealousy kind of fuels a lot of it, to be perfectly honest with you. I know in the case of like Star Wars Theory, these other Star Wars YouTubers, they just dislike Theory's takes, and they're just so upset about his popularity because they don't jive with their progressive bullshit way of thinking about things.
I'm liking Star Wars Theory more and more. I used to think and Theory's he's not. I don't take him as being like a super conservative or super liberal dude. Not, yeah. He's just a dude who loves Star Wars. Yeah.
And he does what he wants, and he doesn't care what anybody else thinks. And that's what I like about him. So, there's been a lot of times where I disagree with his takes, but I still like watching his videos.
Mr. Butters, I have to correct you on something. Theory has made it clear that he is a fan of Lucas Star Wars.
Well, okay. So am I. Yeah. So. But
that's actual Star Wars. That's why he said Star Wars.
Right, Star Wars.
Yeah, unless you preface it with Disney.
I've also sat there and watched Theory cry and blubber like a huge baby.
Right. Yeah.
When Luke Skywalker showed up on The Mandalorian, just like all of us did. I thought that was the greatest single moment of Disney Star Wars history.
Except for they didn't have the music.
Right. But
did you actually like it when Luke came back?
Did who what?
When Luke came back, did you like it?
I thought it was cool for about 30 seconds. Then I go,
when it was like trail cam footage or security footage, that's what I liked. I didn't want to see his uncanny face. That's for sure.
Right.
He's like Leatherface wearing someone else's face on him.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, it's I think it's fueled by jealousy for the most part, really. And and they clutch their pearls and they get all upset and they try to hide behind their morals and nonsense. But it's just jealousy because other people are capitalizing and actually getting paid for having some opinions that's different from their own. So whatever, screw them.
Well, I want to throw this to Odin, who's been on the inside of this because he's good friends with the Gary and the Geeks and Gamers crew and Ryan Kinnel, slumming it with us, but he's on the Friday Night Tight Show and all that good stuff. Odin, do you have any insider knowledge about how these guys reacted to this movement to try to destroy their livelihoods?
First a correction. I would never be slumming it, as it were. This is always a joy. I love these conversations on these Salty Saturdays. And again, you guys are amazing. Really, no other inside tracks.
I just got that message where you said I'm lying about everything I'm saying right now. I am slumming it.
Okay. Anyway, that was not me typing. That was once again Dutch Butters clickety clacking away. Clickety clack, clickety clack, clickety clack. There it is. All right. But yeah, no real inside information because really, other than when we're getting ready for the show, there aren't a whole lot of, at least in our general chats, conversations about too many of these things. What I do think though is based on everything that I've seen just externally. I would doubt actually at this point that any type of like maybe litigation would be pursued, only just because if you think about just damages, I think that because of this blew up so quickly in Star Wars Explained's face and everyone who was trying to get people cancel's faces, I think it actually has already done just so much more damage to them that it's almost like what would even the point be at this point? It's like we've already gotten justice just from that alone. But again, I can't speak for them because I, again, have no knowledge of what any plans they might potentially have might be, or if it would even go that far. But I do think that just from the outside of it, it definitely has been that sweetness of just how stupid they have made themselves look. And when you have YouTube especially coming out saying, yep, you have no evidence, have a nice day. It also, it's already a pretty tough thing to try to, prove. One of my favorite responses was definitely from Jeremy when part of what was being said in that very long, just completely nonsensical statement from Star Wars Explained about the quote evidence included mention of the whole Kelly Marie Tran situation. And my favorite part is Jeremy only had to post the video where he is clearly stating that, hey, I think Kelly Marie Tran is a very sweet person. I think she seems really awesome. Unfortunately, she's been, created as a, just playing a character that's been terribly written and is just a very awful character. It's like, I really don't like this character. I have no problem at all though with Kelly Marie Tran, right? Separating that art from the artist type situation. So it's just funny because even the evidence that they brought up has absolutely no grounds whatsoever. And it kind of just shows you how insane these people are and how cultish these people are, that they thought that they actually had a smoking gun of some kind, that they actually thought that their evidence was so strong and so much that even when YouTube came back and said, yeah, there's nothing here, have a nice day, that they were like, their immediate response was, well, if you say there's nothing there, then clearly you just don't understand. And so your advertisers will be hearing from our lawyers.
Well, they never have evidence. Yeah. They always just have allegations. Yep. They just hope the allegation is enough to cause problems.
Mm-hmm. When is YouTube going to go cancel all their channels?
Here's the thing. But that's the thing, though. They've self-canceled. They're losing thousands and thousands of followers and subscribers every single day. So they have, again, only hurt themselves and hurt their brand. They, if they were smart, would want all of this to go away as quickly as possible, which means not talking about it, moving on from it. But we all know the internet is forever. And I do think that even if they do somehow save face down the line, it's going to take a long time to actually save that face. And it's going to take even longer for people to stop mentioning it in their comments or chats, because the next thing that happens is, knowing the people as they've been acting, and I doubt that they've learned their lesson, people start, commenting on their posts, start posting it in their chats, and they just start deleting them, muting them, banning them, whatever it might be. And we all know when creators do that, when there's like a high profile situation, that's never a good thing. It never really ends well for them. So this is just the dumbest thing that they could have done. Especially when you're going after a group that has such a very passionate fan base as well, because they're going to just, increase that message. And that's the other thing too, is that they act as if like there's this huge hate mob within the Fellowship. But if you really think about it, I don't remember at any time ever being told, asked, or even myself telling anybody, hey, yeah, go to this video and downvote it. Go to this review and leave a negative comment. No one has ever even said that. We've only just said, hey, look what they're doing. This is kind of amazing, because people were already just naturally doing that already, right? And it was because that's how they genuinely thought about something. But somehow that makes anyone who's in the circle, right, the ringleaders of this cult, trying to destroy people's lives and stuff. It's like, yeah, and then all of a sudden they've just done exactly what they have claimed the Fellowship did, right? And the channels that are at the head of the Fellowship did. And this is going to, again, just be ever so sweet as they continue to lose face and potentially more down the road as well.